all my judges are ready. And the timer? All right, then let's begin. So a couple years ago, my mom decided to sign me up for this speech and debate class I'd only be taking for a semester. Now, a few years later, I'm still competing in the NCFCA. Now, my first year, I really liked acting, so I competed in the interpretive category. And I noticed there were a lot of cliches that the people in the interpretive category fell under. So the next year, I did what is known as NCFCA suicide, and I did 5 speeches and team policy debate. And I noticed that cliches don't just apply to the interpretive category, they apply to all categories. So that's what I'm going to be talking about for 10 minutes today. NCFCA individual event speech cliches. Now under IE event, there are 3 categories: limited prep, interpretive, and platform. And the first is limited prep. Now in my opinion, limited prep should really be called unlimited prep. You see, apologetic speakers have years to come up with their answers to the apologetics questions. And extemporaneous speakers, they have half an hour to write their speech for you. Now I understand 30 minutes is a limited amount of time, but because I'm like every other high school student in America, I procrastinate. And I wrote most of my school essays in 30 minutes. The only true limited prep speech there really is impromptu. Now, if you're an alumni or a judge who's judged impromptu before, you've probably seen this. Okay, Judge, so this is my topic for you, and I have 3 points. And I'm going to walk all the way to the left side of the room to tell you my first point, and then I'm going to walk all the way to the right side of the room to tell you my second point, and then I'm going to walk all the way back to the middle for my 3rd point and conclusion. Now, I hate to tell NCFCA speakers this, but 3 is not the magic number. You can have more or less than 3 points in your speech. And the room is way bigger than just a line. Then we come to apologetics. Now, we often encourage our community judges to go watch apologetics because we want an opportunity to share our faith with them. However, according to my mom, with the number of heresies she has reported to me, I have a fear they may get a misrepresentation of our faith. You see, but apologetic speakers in their defense are what I call accidental heretics. So when they say the Bible wasn't really ratified till we found the Dead Sea Scrolls, or the Holy Trinity, it's like 3 gumballs chewed into one. They don't really mean that. It's just the first thing that comes to their mind. Then we have extemporaneous speakers. Now I have yet to meet an extem speaker that is not a debater. Now you would think with the rivalry between team policy and Lincoln Douglas, it'd be heavily weighed one side or the other, but no. Extemp is about the only common ground TP and Lincoln Douglas debaters have with each other. Okay, now moving on, we have the interpretive category. Now in the interpretive category, this is the one everyone wants to go watch. And we have humorous interpretation. Now I want to pose a question to all of you who are watching. Have you ever seen a girl in humorous interpretation win nationals? No, probably not, because the last time that happened, according to the NCFCA website, was 10 years ago in 2005. Now, here's my theory as to why 85% of the time it's going to be a guy who wins humorous interpretation. A guy who's acting as a girl is always going to be hilarious, but a girl who's acting as a guy is just going to be weird. You gotta admit that was a little weird right then. Then we have open interpretation. Now I want to give you a little background information. There used to be a category called dramatic interpretation. It was perfect because the acronym was DIE. That's what everybody in the book did, they died. But now open interpretation has basically become dramatic because I sat through a round of open interpretation finals, and all of them, the good guy died. So my advice to you judges, if you're judging open interpretation, is to bring a box of tissues. Then we have thematic. Now I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on thematic because, well, no one really does thematic. Okay, now moving on to duo interpretation. We have most of the cliches surround the duo partners. Now, I would like to make a quick clarification point. I do not think that duo should be considered an IE event, because it's not an individual event. But we have three main partnerships that you're going to see in duo interpretation. The first are the sibling-sibling partners. Now, these originated because one sibling wanted to do a duo with their best friend, but their mom didn't want to drive all the way to the best friend's house for rehearsal, so they ended up doing a duo together. Unless for some reason they wanted to do one together. But I can guarantee you from personal experience, there is no rehearsal they have without wanting to kill each other. Then you have the best friend duo teams, and these always say they have great chemistry. Here's why. They have a bunch of embarrassing backstories to use against each other. And then you have the infamous guy-girl duo partners. Now I give it up to these guys and girls. Asking someone to a full 1-year commitment to you is way more serious than asking someone out on a date. Now, my favorite theory behind these guys and girl duos is they started out as debate partners, but they wanted to take their partnership to the next level and do a speech together. Way more intimate that way, and we all know the saying here in NCFCA, duo partners make life partners. Now moving on to the category that I'm currently competing in, platform. However, I want to make one small point. I'm not standing on a platform right now. The first speech we have is informative, and informative is the most boring speech topic in the NCFCA. Nobody intentionally goes to watch informative. The only people who watch informative are people supporting their club members, judges, and the one person who thinks it's the humorous interpretation room. I actually had a friend at the last qualifier. She came to all of my informative rounds, and I finally asked her, I was like, my informative's not that great. Why do you keep coming? And she said, oh, I don't like it. It's just the only quiet place I can sleep for 10 minutes. So then we have persuasive. Now there are three really overdone topics in persuasive. Abortion, human trafficking, and why junk food is bad for us. Now the problem is none of these topics are persuasive. Because we compete in the National Christian Forensics Communication Association. We compete in a Christian organization. So our judges are mainly composed of homeschool conservative Christian parents. So for the first half of your speech, you've already convinced your judges, yes, abortion is wrong, yes, human trafficking is wrong, and yes, junk food is bad for you, but I'm still going to eat it. Then we have illustrated oratory. Now, illustrated oratory is composed of 90% girls. If you check the illustrated oratory postings, it's going to be majoritively girls, which is screaming for stereotyping homeschool girls as as artistic and coordinated. I am the least artistic and coordinated person that I know. The second cliche under illustrated oratory is it's composed of all extroverts who have introverted siblings that make the boards for them. It's also really obvious when the parents help them make the boards. And then finally, we come to the speech that I'm currently competing in, after dinner speaking. Now, there are two really overdone topics in the speech category: the family and how unsocialized homeschoolers are. So it essentially becomes competition as to who has the more messed up family and who can find the most homeschooler stereotypes. Now the other cliche is, now that I'm coming to the conclusion of my speech, I need to talk in a quiet, sincere, smiley voice and tie everything that I just said to you back to a biblical principle. But sometimes that is just like putting lipstick on a pig. It is awkward and it doesn't look nice. So, for an example, I'm just going to tie everything that I just said to you back to a biblical principle. In Romans 12:2, it tells us, do not conform to the ways of this world. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Judges, we as Christians need to break out of our cliches. We are called to be in the world, but not of the world. We are called as Christians to be different. Do you guys see how stretched that was? We just went from talking about NCFCA speech cliches to how we're supposed to act as Christians in the world. So for the purposes of this speech, I like to think that God has a sense of humor too. Thank you. Thank you so much for judging. Thank you so much for judging. Thank you so much for judging. Thank you for judging. And thank you so much for timing. What was my time? 10:20.